Hi, this is Todd Davis from Seabury Design. In our last lesson, we learned about the data access layer and the business logic layer and how they speak to each other, and actually created that entire series of objects that are required by the data access layer, as well as the stored procedures. At this point, we're ready to go ahead and start to build our project and to see how it looks and works in DotNetNuke. Before we do that, there's one more change I'd like to make in our project. Because by default, SD-Blog and the data provider are going to build their assemblies underneath their directories in their bin directory. And that's wonderful, but that's not going to be in a place where DotNetNuke can access it. And DotNetNuke has to access it. So let's do a right-click and choose Properties. Go under Configuration Properties and Build. And we want to set the output path to be under the DotNetNuke bin directory right here. Okay, and click Apply. Okay, and then do the same thing down here for the SQL data provider. DotNetNuke bin. It usually helps me to apply it and then say OK. Sometimes I find it doesn't take. And let's just go in and take a look in the bin directory. Details. Now remember, my things are named SD. It'll look a little different when you set up your templates, whatever your company name will be. But you'll see that SD is not appearing. So let's go ahead and do a Control-Shift-B. 2 succeeded. That should be good. Let's go in and take a look, and sure enough, here's our blog DLL and our blog SQL data provider DLL. So now we know we're good to go. As long as these DLLs are in there, DotNetNuke can see them. I'm going to open up the DotNetNuke page. And here we go. Log in. Okay, let me log in as host. And I'm just going to do remember login for now. There we go. Now what we need to do is add our module to the DotNetNuke portal. So we're going to do host module definitions. If you've ever uploaded a module, you're probably familiar with this already. We're going to do a slightly different way of adding the module, though. We're not going to upload the module, we're just going to add the new module definition. So let's call this blog. See a trend here, description blog, update, great, new definition, blog, great, add control. Now we have 3 controls we need to add, and we talked about this a little bit before. Here's blog ASCX, which is our main module, and that's what we're going to be looking at most of the time. So we're going to set that to view, and you can go ahead and say update on that. Now we're going to add another control. This time we're going to add the blog edit, which is our edit screen. And obviously that needs to be set to a type of edit, and we'll just mark the key down as edit for clarity. And then lastly, we need to add one more control, which is our module settings, blog settings. This is also marked as edit. I'm not sure why they don't have a settings type, but that's what does it. So I'm going to call this settings and a title of blog settings. And the reason I'm putting the title in this particular one is because when we click on module settings, this is going to show up at the bottom of the page, and whatever you type in here is what's going to show up at the bottom of the page as the title to our settings module. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So we should have 3 controls now, our main blog ASCX, our blog edit, and our settings. And with that done, let's add a page. There we go. Blog, 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 blog. And we're just going to let all users go ahead and see this particular page. just for testing purposes. And when you select the module, there we go. Here's blog, and add it to the content pane. And there you go. There's our blog module. Beautiful, isn't it? Everything you expect to be there in a module that we haven't done anything to is there. We have a title, we have a pencil to add something. What I do want you to notice is what's not there is there's no text by this pencil. And if you do a little drop down, you'll see the pencil there, but again, no text. And there's a reason for that. If you remember, we talked about the app local resources. Let's go back here. And I told you that all the information, all the strings and all the text is going to come out of these here. And we don't have anything here in here about how to add a blog module. So let's go in and take a look real quick. Here's our blog ASCX. I'm going to show you where this actually goes. You'll see within your blog ASCX VB, among everything else, there's a section called Optional Interfaces, and the very first part of that is called Module Actions. And Module Actions are where you're going to add things just like this. So you want to say add a new module, or you might have other things that are specific to your module. This is where you're going to add them. And right here's the line that's adding that little pencil for us. It's Actions Add. And this is, I'm not even going to attempt to explain this in the video right now because it's a little complicated, but basically we're telling the module to go out and look in this resource file for something called add content. We're going to add more of these later, and it's going to be a little more English-like when we add it, but when you add it to a default module, you have this rather long, lengthy thing. Fortunately, you don't have to build that string. It's already built for you. All you need to know right now is that add content is what we're looking for. So let's go in and type in add content, and by the way, this is context sensitive, so if you didn't spell it correctly with caps, it will not work. And let's say add new blog, and I'm going to hit Control S to save that resource file. Go back out to DotNetNuke, and I'm just going to hit refresh real quick. As you can see, that didn't work. We still don't have any text here. So even though I have egg on my face, I think what I'm going to, this is actually a pretty good lesson. So I'm going to go ahead and fix it along with you. What happened is, I'm pretty sure I did not type the correct resource key in there. It needs to be more than add content. But let's say that I don't know what that is. So the best way to look this up is actually to go out and see what the core team did. So let's go into Desktop Modules, and I'm going to choose something I know. Let's say Frequently Asked Questions. You'll notice it has applicable resources, and every single one of these modules will have applicable resources. Okay. And then I know that I chose Frequently Asked Questions because I know that in there it's going to have something that says Add Frequently Asked Questions. It's just the same as our blog. So here's our facts resource file, and I'm going to open that with a text editor, and you'll see here's our XML. And if you get down towards the bottom, you'll see add content action, add new frequently asked question. That's what we needed to type in there, was add content action. So I'm going to do a Control C, go back in here, highlight it, add content action, and I'll just pull that apart so you can see, and it still says add new blog. I'll hit save, go back out to DotNetNuke, and there we go. Add new blog, add new blog. And if we click this, by the way, you won't see much, but what you will see is to update and cancel, and you will see up top here, and this is kind of interesting to note. Let me actually go back for a second how this works so you'll know in the future. If you look at your line right now, you'll see that all it's stating is what tab ID we're on, which is our blog tab ID. When I click on add new blog, in addition to the tab ID, it's going to give you a control command, which is edit. So it knows to use the edit screen, and it tells you what module ID. It's passing that module ID in, so we can use that information here when we go to add and update records. And if you go back and take a look at our blog edit, you'll see cancel, update, delete, and some of these things are dynamic, and you'll see that in the VB code, but for now, trust me, it's just getting rid of the delete, so all you see is update and cancel, and these don't actually do anything yet other than cancel, which goes back. The other thing that we can take a look at is to go into blog settings. We might not see anything yet because we haven't added anything to the settings module, but you do see that blog settings is there, and eventually we're going to add stuff to this section. That's what our settings ASCX module is, and where it's going to show up for people. Okay, so we've added a blog now, a module, and we've learned how to use the resource files, and we're going to keep using those resource files so you'll get the hang of them.